All right, guys, so let's talk a little bit about stretching today. First things that you'll need for this, um, I've got two alignment rods here. We'll use these as we go through some of our stretching today. And to kind of get an understanding of what today is going to be about, we're going to start off with some just kind of basic stretching, and then towards the end of the video, we'll talk a little bit about some of my favorite ones that are a little bit more geared towards like golf specific type stretching. Um, all right, so first things that we're going to want to do here. Well, before I even get into that, let's talk about a little bit what I've seen in class and stuff like that. So, the big things that we're going to focus on when we come to stretching, it's going to be a lot of shoulders and a lot of hips. We're going to stretch out everything, but a lot of our stuff's going to focus on shoulders and hips. The one thing I have noticed through class is that just tends to be where a lot of people are limited in mobility. So that's where we're going to really do a lot of our focusing. All right. So with that being said, let's get into our stretches. So like I said, first things we're going to do, start off real basic. I really like to keep things really simple when I get started. This is the same routine that I've told you guys about that I do myself personally, anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week. Not saying that's what you need to do, but that's what you want to get out of it. It's up, how much you put into it. So first things that we're going to do, we're just going to get our shoulders, arms stretched out. I'm going to take my right arm, I'm going to cross it across my chest. I'm going to take my left arm, hook it under my elbow, and I'm actually going to pull and just start trying to cross my arm across my chest. That's going to let me stretch out the back of my arms, some of my shoulders, things like that. I do this for basically a count of about 7 to 10 seconds. Good. And then I'm going to go ahead, reset, cross the other one, and do the same thing. Like I said, holding it for about 7 to 10 seconds. All right, cool. All right, so after I get that going, from there I'm actually going to take my right arm now. I'm going to fold it up and over my head, grab my left hand, place it on my elbow like so, and now I'm actually going to pull my right arm back, okay? So if I turn this way so you can see it, from my starting position to as I keep going, I'm pulling my right arm back. This is going to help me stretch out some of my tricep area, and again, it's going to help me get some of my upper shoulder, upper back area as well. And again, it's going to be another hold for about 7 to 10 seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch sides. All right, good. I'm extremely sore right now, so this does not feel great, but it feels fantastic at the same time. All right, cool. So after I get that going, the next thing I'm going to do just little arm circles, forwards and backwards. So excuse me. So that's kind of the important part about this is we don't just stretch out one side of the body or do one thing, right? So as I said, go move into our arm circles. My feet are going to go together. My arms are going to go straight out to my side as a T. And I'm going to start off with little arm circles, and I do about 10 of these. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I'm going to go a little bigger. Same thing, about 10 of these. And now I'm going to go really wide, right? Now I go really big. Same thing. And again, this is really to get my shoulders moving, help get my rotator cuffs engaged and get those going. I have shoulder problems, as I'm sure most of you do. So, and again, I do anywhere from 10 to 12 of these really big ones, honestly. It feels really good to me. I really like getting my shoulders back and chest stretched out, so it feels fantastic. So again, I'm going to go back to that position, but now I'm going to go in reverse. So now I have to go backwards, kind of the same way. Starting with little arm circles, going in reverse. About 7 to 10 of these. If you haven't worked out or stretched in a while, I'd probably start with 7 and work your way up. Now we go medium. Same thing, going backwards. This one's usually a little harder for people as well. And then again, we go big. And again, I like to do more of these than the smaller ones. Oh, that feels great. All right. Oh, one more. All right, cool. So that feels good. After I do that, just kind of give my arms a quick little cross, get them recalibrated, and we're off and running. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of transition down to some toe touches. So again, very basic, but feet together, hands kind of towards the front of my thighs here, and I'm gonna go straight down. Now the key is with this is I'm also making sure that I'm not bending my knees with this, okay? Our legs have to stay as straight as possible. We're trying to stretch out our lower back down to our hamstrings, okay? So reaching down, you can go in if you can, grab your calves and pull yourself. If you can reach a little lower towards your ankles, you can do that and pull yourself. The work as you pull on yourself though, just make sure you're not straining yourself, okay? So, and again, working on this, we're gonna do this for about 7 to 10 seconds. And we'll come back up. All right. So the next one we're gonna do, it's a variation of that. I'm gonna cross my right foot over my left. Same thing though, my feet are gonna stay very close together. And again, I'm gonna go ahead and stretch back down. This is again a 7 to 10 second hold. All right, then we're gonna go back up and reverse the legs. So we're gonna cross our left over our right, and same thing, 7 to 10 seconds. You'll notice a theme to that. All right, cool. So after we go ahead and do that, I like to go ahead and move into some calf stretches. So what I'm doing here, I'm gonna turn so you can see me a little better. I'm gonna take my right leg, I'm gonna stick it out behind me, and I'm also gonna make sure that my foot starts flat on the ground. All right. From there, I'm gonna take my left foot and I'm gonna stretch out here as if I'm doing a lunging type motion, okay? Now, the key is when I do this, I'm gonna lunge and put more pressure into my lead foot, but I have to keep my trail heel to the ground. So as I do this, right, it's gonna stretch out the entire backside of my leg and my calf, also towards my Achilles a little bit. So I'm trying to keep my heel down, and the more I can flex my knee forward and keep my heel down, the more I'm gonna stretch. Now you also notice when I do this, I keep my back fairly straight. I'm not arching my back, I'm not leaning forward or anything. My back is staying fairly straight up and down. If you need help doing this, you can do this with a wall. Take your lead toe, slide it into the wall, take your foot, slide it back, put your hands flat against the wall, and push against this. Okay, so that's just another variation on a way to do that. And again, you're going to do that for 7 to 10 seconds. And then we're going to switch sides. Same thing, keeping this heel down, flexing this knee, keeping my back nice and straight. I'm going to push into this knee, pushing my heel to the ground. And again, if I had a wall here, it would be something like that. Okay. Again, I like to feel that nice stretch up the back of my leg. Again, about 7 to 10 seconds. There, I'm going to move into a little side lunge stretch. So my legs are going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and I'm now going to go straight laterally into my side. And again, I'm stretching the inside of this right leg here right now. Okay, and again, that might be hard for some of us if we have any knee problems or things like that. You don't have to get super low with this to feel that stretch. Right? If I even just do a little bit of here and progressively work my way further as I do this more and more, all right, then that's all we're really trying to do. All right, and again, 7 to 10 seconds is what you're trying to hold. Come back and reset and go the other direction. All right. Cool. All right. So once we kind of get that, that's kind of our basic stretching there. Once we get through that, we're going to go ahead and grab our 2 alignment rods. All right. Now from here, I like to use 2 because it's harder to bend them, so I like creating more resistance for myself. You can start with 1 by all means if you want to, and that's totally a personal preference. So what I'm going to do here though is I'm going to start with the sticks down in front of me, my hands just outside the width of my legs here, okay? So, and my feet are about shoulder width apart. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 sticks and I'm going to use just my arms and my shoulders to raise them straight up. The goal is here is to get my arms straight up without me having to arch my back and try and do that, right? So this is going to help me create more mobility in my shoulders, in my rotator cuffs, and again, that's kind of what we're looking for. The more I can actually get this shoulder to it's referred to as externally rotate, I can really create more motion in the golf swing. It helps us create more speed. So that's why we're really going to focus on these shoulders. All right. So when we do the stretch, again, we're not trying to arch. All right. Get our arms up to 90 degrees, fully extended. And then if you can keep going past 90, that's great. If not, fine. That's what we're working towards. Okay. So again, I'm going to hold that for 7 to 10 seconds. Keep my chin up. All right. Now, from there, I'm going to keep this one again pretty simple. I'm going to go straight out in front of me with my stick. Again, my arms are fully extended. You can hold the stick, you can keep your fingers out, whichever you like to do. And from here, I'm just going to simply start rotating that stick to 90 degrees. And I'm actually trying to do it with just my upper body. I'm trying not to let my hips turn with me. So I'm learning disassociation or separation of the turning of the hips and the chest, okay? Again, this is a speed influencer. It can help with swing plane and things like that. So as I sit here and get this stick straight out in front of me, I'm now going to rotate again to 90 degrees. And both of my arms at this point are fairly straight. My right arm might have a little fold in it, but I'm trying to keep it as straight as possible. And again, I'm going to hold that for about 7 to 10 seconds. Make sure you breathe as you're doing this. And I'm going to come back and reset. And I'm going to go the other way. Now, I will say, for a lot of people, going the opposite direction as their golf swing is really hard at first. That's okay. All right, I bring that back. Cool. Now, after I do that, I'm going to go back down and kind of refocus on my legs for a second. After I'm going to stretch out. It's going to work on balance, stretching out my quads here, and kind of helping me recalibrate after I've stretched out my upper body. I like to give it a little bit of a break as well. So now, again, I'm going to use the sticks, though, for leverage. You can do this a couple different ways. You can put the sticks here and use them as a balancing post, bringing your left knee up and holding, okay? And again, that's going to be a 7 to 10 second hold. Or and this is the way I like to do it personally, just from doing it enough, my balance is fairly decent. I like to use the sticks and actually use the sticks as a leverage. And I pull my leg up with this so I can actually work on balance on my right leg and stretching out my hips and my quad and my left leg. Again, that's a 7 to 10 second hold. Make sure you breathe as you do it. Keep your back nice and straight. And then we go down and we switch. And using the sticks, I like to pull my leg. All right. The next piece that I'm going to go with here, I'm going to go ahead and put these to my side, and I'm actually going to work on my hip flexors a little bit. So these are like leg circles that we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to pick my leg up. This knee is going to fold out to the side, okay? And I'm going to go back down, right? So here, here, here. And we do about 7 to 10 of those, okay? And I try and do it all in one motion without letting my foot get back and touch the ground. I try and keep my foot hovering. Again, that helps me a little bit with my balance. I feel like it presents a bigger challenge, but by all means, you're more than welcome to put your foot back on the ground and reset. All right. So after I do that, I got 2 more here. Oop, that was a bad one, so I'm going to redo that. There we go. All right, 1 more. Boom. There. Cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and plant. And again, I'm going to reset and redo it to the other side. So same thing, up, out, down. Okay. And what you'll probably find is one side of your body is a lot easier to do it on than the other. I can tell you now, for a lot of the stuff that I do, ironically enough, being right-handed, the left side of my body tends to be more flexible and easier for me to do these things. And I think a lot of that has to do is because in my golf swing, the left side of my body is the lead side. So it takes a lot of the flexibility and the brunt of the force of the golf swing. So, all right, so after we get those, all right, from there, go ahead and grab our sticks one more time. And this is where we're gonna get into some of the golf basic stretching, okay? So these stretches tend to be a little bit more advanced. They can be a little harder at first, so don't feel bad if you can't do them right away. It'll be something that we just keep working towards, all right? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our sticks, and I'm gonna take my right hand and go underneath here, okay? So my hands are facing opposite directions. One palm's up, one palm's down, all right? And either way, we're gonna reverse this here in a second, so it doesn't matter which one you do first, all right? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna start to rotate these sticks, okay? Now, most people are going to look at that and go, well, what's so bad about that? Well, actually, for a lot of times, this is actually really hard at first for people because our shoulders, our scapulas, and rotator cuffs, things like that, they're just not that stretched out. So, again, when I do this, I hold this for about 7 to 10 seconds, and then I slowly come back. You'll notice I don't just whip this thing like, okay? Do that very slowly, all right? And I actually do that one twice on both sides. So I hold that for about 7 seconds, I come back to neutral, I redo it. Again, holding for 7 to 10. Breathing as we do it. Back is straight. And I come back. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch my hand positions and go the opposite direction. All right. Again, holding 7 to 10. Breathing. And going back nice and slow. And again, we'll go back one more time. And then come back. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside now. The next stretch that we're going to do, we're not going to need these. So, and this next stretch, there's 2 different variations to it. So it's called our A-frame stretch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get down here, and you'll notice when I do this, I'm not flexing my knees or anything. I'm bending majority from the waist. My knees have a little bit of flex to them, but kind of, I like to think of it kind of like if I was in my golf swing, right? My knees don't get super flexed. There's a little bend, but not a ton, okay? Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take my left arm here to start, and I'll turn back this way. And I'm going to reach down, and I'm going to start with my arm in a 90. I'm going to reach down. I'm going to cross it across my kneecaps and reach behind my right kneecap a little, okay? So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my right arm straight down to the side. And from here, I'm going to actually rotate, right, as if I was making my golf swing. Now, what's going to be really important here is I'm going to take my right hand, and I'm going to start to stretch up to the sky. This is going to stretch out my hip and my shoulder, okay? Again, holding for 7 to 10. And then I come back down. And I do this 3 times. Breathing as you do it. And always doing it at a controlled pace. I'm never rushing. Last time. Back down. And then I stand back up. And I'm going to go back down and switch sides. Same thing. Again, you're going to notice one side is easier to do than the other. Back down. Up. Make sure you really reach up there if you can. And one more of those. All right. Good. Now, after we do that, as I said, there is a second variation to that. As I go back down, as I do that, I just make sure I'm actually trying not to lift my head and rotate up. I'm actually moving just my arm back now. So my circle gets a little bit wider going back. I actually try and stay looking down. So this is kind of more or less what I would feel kind of in my golf swing, I suppose. My left shoulder pointing more down, my right shoulder nice and high. My right hip kind of rotated back and stretching. So again, I'm going to hold that for about 7 to 10. And this one I only do once just because I'm resetting myself essentially. All right, so the last stretch that we'll do today, excuse me, it's to help get my shoulders and get kind of my external rotation as I was talking about earlier. This is usually a really hard one for people at first, just because there's usually not a ton of mobility people have there, and that's where people start to develop like chicken wings, or they short arm their golf swing, things like that. So let's get into a quick little stretch and routine for that. Again, I'm gonna actually take 2 of my alignment rods here, and I'm gonna put my arm flat on top here. Okay, and then I'm gonna hold it with just my one hand, and I'm gonna rotate it up so that these sticks stay flat to my forearm. Okay, and you'll notice I'm just keeping the stick straight up and down. My arm straight up and down. It's not down here. It's not super high. Just about a 90-degree angle. Okay, now I'm gonna turn back this way, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm trying to rotate these sticks again, and I'm trying not to arch with it. Okay, I want to do it with just my arm and my shoulder. All right, if the sticks come up off the arm a little bit, that's fine. Just make sure they stay pointing straight out in front of you. Don't let them go sideways. Okay. All right. And again, I'm trying to keep my arm up at a 90-degree and let it rotate back. The more I can do this, the easier it is for me to actually learn how to get the club more on plane in my downswing. I know that sounds funny, but as we talk further along this winter, it'll make more sense. All right. So again, after I've done that with my right arm or left arm, which I like to do that anywhere from 5 to 10 times, depending on what I've already done for the day. So again, I'm going to switch arms here, and we're going to go here, and I'm going to do the same thing. And again, you're going to notice one of them is probably easier to do than the other. And each one's held for roughly 2 to 3 seconds. Notice every now and then I gotta recorrect myself, make sure I'm in the right position. I'll do one more of those. All right, guys, so like I said, that's the stretching routine that I like to run through myself multiple times during the week. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you have any questions, always ask. And this will probably be a routine that I ask you guys to do for a couple weeks going forward before I introduce anything new or anything more golf specific, because this is going to be something that really gets a lot of parts of your body stretched out. But like I said, focusing on shoulders and hips, those are 2 of the biggest things we use in our golf anyway. So let's start with it being pretty basic, and then from there over the next couple weeks as we progress through this, I'll introduce some new stretches and things like that. Okay, so thanks very much, guys, for putting up with me.
Looking forward to 2023 with you guys, and let's get after it.